What is good, you guys? Welcome back to the Pro. Welcome back to a brand new video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how the return of Victor Oladipo is going to heavily benefit the Miami Heat. Who should be the first option down the stretch? A lot of timely, Heat news that we're going to be talking about. The road trip is just finished. Great win against the Brooklyn Nets after a very tough, heartbreaking loss against the Milwaukee Bucks. We are back at it on Friday against the Philadelphia 76ers, who, as I'm recording this video, are currently playing the Cleveland Cavaliers. So I'm keeping very, very close attention to this game because obviously we know the Sixers have been the talk of the town since they have acquired James Harden after the trade deadline. So we're going to be keeping an eye on that game as well and previewing it a little bit. So let's get right into it, man. Leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below. On the road to 1,800 subs. Let's get there as soon as possible. But the big news is Victor Oladipo is set to return back to the Miami Heat after what seems like almost a year. He is set to return on Monday night against the Houston Rockets. How fitting that he returns against his former team. That's going to be a movie, man. Oladipo is going to bring so much to this team. Defensively, he's going to be elite, in my opinion. Offensively, we'll have to see how he does because he was, on one leg last time, but he was still giving us about 15, 16 points per game. Hopefully the surgery, has done him well. Fingers crossed that he comes back and doesn't re-injure himself and just seamlessly fits right into the lineup. He's probably going to be coming off the bench, which is fine, but that just adds to our, so strong depth, man. Our depth is absolutely insane as we put on display for the NBA against the Brooklyn Nets. The talk of the town was Kevin Durant's return, and it was tough. He kind of just got whatever he wanted. 31 points. The amount of coverages we threw at them, could not seem to stop him because he was just so explosive and very so good at getting to his spots and just rising up and shooting over the top of people. So you can't really do much against him. But I thought after the first half, we did a really good job in slowing the others down. I thought the zone really messed with Brooklyn, and I really think that once we limited the guys like Patty Mills and Seth Curry in the second half, I really thought that we took control of the game and never looked back from there. Shout out to Bam Adebayo, man. Had a huge game. 30 points, 11 rebounds, and 6 assists. Tyler added 27 points, and we were able to pull out the W. The Milwaukee Bucks game, it was tough. I thought we kind of let it slip away. Even though Jimmy Butler had probably his worst game of the season, I really thought we let it slip away because we were up by like 14, 15 points. And we let them come back, and it kind of just seemed like whenever Jimmy Butler got back in the game, the momentum shifted the opposite way. We were up by 14. All of a sudden, Caleb Martin gets substituted for Jimmy Butler, and we blow the lead. And it's not all on Jimmy. I'm not going to go at Jimmy's head because he's been, our closer, and he's been our savior in so many times and situations. But that game was on Jimmy, in my opinion, because I think that, if Jimmy just played a tad bit better and took a little bit more shots, we would have won the game. PJ Tucker took more shots than Jimmy, if I'm not mistaken. So I just think that Jimmy just had to be more aggressive. A lot of people will blame Tyler for the 2 turnovers down the stretch, which is, understandable. You cannot turn the ball over like that in those situations. But I think Jimmy just didn't show up, for the course of the game. And if he had just done anything, we would have won that game. Tyler was the reason we were even in the game at one point because the Bucks started off very hot. And yeah, man, I thought that was a very winnable game. But the same kind of things that came back to bite us in some of our other losses came back to haunt us in this one. Who is our closer? We still are pretty unclear about that. Is it Jimmy Butler? Because his closing numbers down the stretch have been absolutely atrocious for the whole season. And whose hand should the ball be in? That game really showed us and showed me how much we miss Kyle Lowry and how important he is to our team. And I think the ball should be in his hands down the stretch because he is our only natural point guard. I know Jimmy handles the ball, but Kyle Lowry has played the point guard position since he was a kid, man. Like, that's been his position. And he's one of the best playmakers, floor generals in the NBA. So that's his position, man. He should be the guy with the ball in his hands. Hopefully with his personal issues, family off the court. He deals with that, gets back as soon as possible. He's out for Friday, but hopefully against the Rockets on Monday, he can return, and we can be at full strength. It's crazy that Victor Oladipo is coming back before Markieff Morris, so that injury must be something severe. As we all know, reported by Barry Jackson a month ago, it was a severe injury, and hopefully we see Keith back before the playoffs. But if not, we're probably going to see him in the playoffs sometime for the first time back from that incident with Jokic. But I don't know. I just really think that the ball should be in Kyle Lowry's hands down the stretch, even with Oladipo coming back. I don't really trust Jimmy to be the guy down the stretch because I don't trust his jump shot. It's been too inconsistent. Lowry at least can create his own jump shot, can play make for others. We can just have Jimmy just score off cuts and all that stuff, and post ups and opportunities, because outside of 15 feet, it's like what consistency is there with Jimmy Butler scoring outside of the paint? Nothing. His mid-range jump shot is either on fire or ice cold. So that being said, though, I know he played atrociously. I probably wouldn't trust him as the guy with the ball in his hands down the stretch, but I'm still going to ride or die with him as a competitor for a 7-game series. So I don't think people should write him off based on one game. I still think that he's an elite player and a superstar, but I think that he shouldn't be the guy with the ball in his hands down the stretch, because we've seen time and time again it does not really work. Another issue I do want to point out is the amount of stagnant play there is down the stretch from the Heat. And I even tweeted this during the Hornets game, and I quoted it after the Bucks game. How is it that we are so willing to set dribble handoffs and screens and pin downs and share the ball so well during the course of the game, but when it comes down to the last 2-3 minutes, it's all ISO ball? No one is moving around. Everyone is just standing there. Like, how is that possible? That doesn't really make sense to me whatsoever. That has to be cleaned up for sure. Just the play in the clutch has to be cleaned up. We blow far too many leads, and I would, want this to happen now rather than in the playoffs, but I don't want it to be too late before the team can fix this, because this is going to be an issue that's going to come back to bite us in the playoffs. That being said, I'm not going to overreact to this game and say that we're frauds or whatever, like a lot of people have been saying for some reason, because we lost to the Bucks without Kyle Lowry. I'm not going to say all that. I'm just saying we have to fix up the play down the stretch, because that's been a clear issue throughout the whole season. Another thing is we got to get Bam more shot attempts. Bam made 2 clutch shots against the Milwaukee Bucks, made a clutch shot to put us up by 4 against the Brooklyn Nets. When he gets the ball, good things happen. And like I said, Bam is a mismatch nightmare. I said it in the last video, which was actually a video about him. He's a matchup nightmare for anyone, because he's too fast for the bigger guys and too big for the smaller guys. So unless you're like a guy who can move his feet who's also very big like Joel Embiid, Bam Adebayo is a guy that is probably going to have his way with you. As we saw with Drummond, he was going off against him. So I just think that Bam Adebayo has to get the ball down the stretch. He and Kyle should be the guys with their ball, the ball in their hands, because we've already seen that Bam with a lineup of shooters always has produced good results, and Kyle Lowry with the ball in his hands, as we saw against the Hornets in overtime, he kind of took over. That has also produced good results as well. So I think that's probably the answer to the closing problems. That's probably going to be it as far as closing the game, the issues as far as closing the game, because it's something that the team has to just figure out. It's not going to happen overnight, obviously, but hopefully Spo, who's been the coach of the year in my opinion, can devise a good game plan down the stretch. Also the inbounds plays have to be better. You can't just keep running that same inbound play. It's not going to work all the time where you have the inbounder cut to the basket after inbounding the ball. The teams are going to figure that out. So we need another inbounds play. That play that we have been running for like years now, since Jimmy has been part of this team, where we send everyone to the backcourt and throw a very risky high pass that Jimmy has to jump up and grab it, is like I said, very risky. So you have to find out and devise another inbounds play down the stretch when you are up, when the team is trying to foul you, because as we saw, I know the jump ball, a lot of people thought it was a foul, but we kind of did that to ourselves by turning the ball over in that scenario. You can't do that. So yeah, that's gonna be interesting to see how Spo, deals with that. As far as this Philly Cavs game, I'm watching it right now. The Cavs are currently down by 6 with a minute and 15 seconds remaining. Philly looks good. Philly has looked good since the Harden trade. I did predict that they wouldn't look so good in the playoffs, but right now they do look good, which is what I expected, because James Harden is not going to look disengaged when he's in a new situation right off the bat. He's going to look engaged because he's happy to be there. My only prediction was that in the playoffs, you might see some capitulation with this team, because as we all know, Harden is not an elite playoff player, and I really don't think this team has the shooting necessary. I've seen so many possessions, even in this game where the Sixers were leading for a little bit in the second half, and right now they're currently leading, where James Harden has the ball, he drives it, kicks it, and a lot of these guys are afraid to shoot because they are not spot-up shooters. Like Tobias Harris, he shot it once because he was wide open and no one was in his vicinity, but there was a possession where everyone was just passing it around, and no one was taking an open shot because Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris, Shake Milton were the 3 guys involved in that play. None of them are spot-up shooters. They're all guys who need to take one dribble and then pull up, or create their own shot off of the dribble. So that's why that's one of the flaws in this team that I see. They don't really have the perimeter shooting, in my mind, necessary to win. It's going to be a tough matchup though. Joel Embiid has always been a handful. Hopefully Bam takes that matchup personally. Hopefully PJ and Jimmy are back, because we're going to need someone to guard James Harden. If not, expect Caleb Martin to get the assignment. He's a big, long, lengthy defender, who did really, really well against Kevin Durant, and I think could cause problems with James Harden. But regardless of who plays or not, I think we'll have enough to try to win this game, because as you guys can see, we beat the Nets undermanned, and I think although the Sixers are more healthy than the Nets were, I do think that we have a shot at beating the Sixers even without Jimmy Butler, with the amount of hungry young players that we have coming off our bench. So it's going to be a tough matchup for sure, man. Embiid is a handful, probably the MVP this year. Tobias could get going. He's been struggling since the trade, but at any point he could get going. Maxey has been on a tear recently. He has like 30 something right now. And as we all know, Harden is spearheading that team right now. So it's going to be a good game. It's going to be a good game for sure. So make sure y'all tune in. Also, shout out to ESPN for putting the Suns game on ESPN. That was something that was very necessary and needed to happen. But unfortunately, it didn't happen till now. But yeah, that's where we're going to wrap up the video. Make sure y'all drop a like, subscribe, and comment down below. I'll see y'all later as always. Peace.